Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for. You've been searching in the dark, your sweat soaking through the floor. And buried in your bones, there's an ache that you can't ignore. Taking your breath, stealing your mind, and all that was real is left behind. So tell me, do you wanna go where it's coming on the lights, where the runaways are running the night? This is the greatest show. We light it up, we won't go down, and the sun can't stop us now. Watching it go down, it's taking over you. This is the greatest show.
Hey everybody, welcome into the NHL Return to Play preview. I'm Kathryn Tappen, thrilled to be with you, as today we're going to break down everything you need to know about the Western Conference. But first, how is this all going to work? The top 12 teams in each conference, based on points percentage, will all have a chance to compete for the Stanley Cup. The Eastern Conference will be playing in Toronto, and the Western Conference will be playing in Edmonton. In each conference, the top 4 teams automatically made the playoffs and will play each other once apiece in a round robin to determine seeding. The round robin games will be played with regular season overtime and shootout rules, with ties in the final standings broken by regular season points percentage. Seeds 5 through 12 in each conference will meet in a best-of-5 series with a chance to advance to the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Playoff rules apply for these qualifying round games, and it all begins on August 1st. Let's kick things off with the number 1 seed in the West, the St. Louis Blues.
You can feel the excitement just driving around. They're having a red carpet, or they're calling it a blue carpet.
We play to win. The Blues arm in arm, a terrific moment for anyone who's part of this organization. We play to win.
Hello, St. Louis!
Now you got all the players that are here. What a great year it's been for St. Louis.
Welcome back to Enterprise Center, Jay Bouwmeester.
Blues come back the other way. They score! David Perron's got a breakaway now in overtime. Makes the move, he scores!
They just have a real professional group. You consider that they haven't had Tarasenko for the majority of the year, and yet they haven't missed a beat. They've had incredible win streaks this year. They've been dominant, and their team looks as good as ever.
And I'm joined now by Kelly Rudy and Keith Jones to talk more about this St. Louis Blues team. And guys, it's just been so incredible to watch the way they almost effortlessly went into the regular season this year after winning the Stanley Cup. They're primed once again for another championship. But Jonesy, what do they need to do to pick up exactly where they left off as the number 1 seed in the West?
Try not to change anything, and that's one reason St. Louis was so successful starting about the midway point of last year before eventually winning the Stanley Cup. They played the same way on a nightly basis. They consistently went out and grinded out the opposition. They found ways to score goals, and they also found a way to possess the puck a lot. They play a very unselfish style. They do a lot of hard work in the corners, and they know how to get to the front of the net, and that's where the majority of the goals come from. Great goaltending goes a long way, as Kelly can speak to, but for the most part, I think it's the consistent style of play that has served the Blues so well.
You know, I hate to be the downer kind of guy, but I agree with everything that you've said, Keith, about how they play. But I find their game just off a little bit this year. I think they're about 10% below the level they played at last year, in which they were so successful for all the reasons that you said, Keith. But when I watch them, I sometimes feel like I'm fooled a little bit by their great record this year, because I just feel like they have a little bit more to give. Individually, they've had some players that have had phenomenal seasons this year, but I still think that collectively they can reach another level, and I'm not afraid to say that I think they will.
Jonesy, based on the momentum that the Blues had, especially towards the end of, the beginning of the month of March before we went on pause here, I mean, how hard is it going to be for this team that's had a lot of miles on it over the last 2 seasons, and in particular last season when they won the championship? How hard is it to pick up that momentum now after this lengthy break?
Craig Berube, I talked to him the other day. He said he's going to work them hard in the next couple of weeks. He said, I don't care what level they're at, they're going to get to the level I want them to be at. So you can be sure they're going to be an active team. They're a team that has great expectations based upon winning the Stanley Cup last year. So they're going to be a motivated team for sure. And Craig Berube is going to make sure that that message gets across to his players. I think he, like Kelly, believes there is at least 10% more to give, and they're going to need to give that in order to win another Stanley Cup.
You're going to come right out of the gates hard in training camp. I like it. That's a typical Craig Berube coach team. All right, the St. Louis Blues. But coming up next, we're going to talk about another powerful team out west and a team that many think have a chance to win the Cup as well, the Colorado Avalanche, when the NHL Return to Play preview continues. Welcome back in, everybody, to the NHL Return to Play preview. Let's continue to move our way through the West, and the number 2 seed coming out of that conference, the Colorado Avalanche.
Drops it off for McKinnon into the circle. McKinnon down low. He scores! Nathan McKinnon blocks the line. Still with it, McCarr. Still with it with a shot. He scores! So Avalanche with a goal, and they follow up with the big boys, and here's Landeskog breaking in, scores! A beauty for Gabe Landeskog! Reinforced shot, what a save by Francouz! Keck was down low, save by Francouz!
You realize how big of an event this is. Excited to play this game.
6 goals in 8 minutes, new Avalanche record, second fastest in the National Hockey League since 05-06. Trying to get through the shot. He scores! The Avs have won!
And we welcome in Keith Jones and Kelly Rudy to talk about a team that many think has an opportunity as best as ever to win another Stanley Cup. That's the Colorado Avalanche. And Kelly, this is a really fun team to watch. They were really starting to pick things up when hit their stride around the All-Star break. What are your thoughts on Colorado's chances to make a significant run at this Stanley Cup?
I like their team for a lot of reasons. You know, you look at your back end, and McCarr is just such a phenomenal young player to watch and mesmerizing. You can't take your eyes off him for all the things that he does offensively. Of course, their top line is magical, and I'm not going to get into a lot about them because we know how great they are. But a couple of guys that I want to talk about and their importance in the playoffs, and it's going to be Kathryn. I think he's going to be such a key member. And what we love about him is the way he plays the game. He's a passionate player. Now, he just can't cross the line like he did the last 2 playoffs with Toronto, but I expect that he's learned from those lessons. And Nemestikov, here's a guy that, to me, I think that, interestingly enough, he's going to really add to this team because they needed that depth, and in particular on the penalty kill, where they struggled for most of the season until they picked him up. And then I think in his games, they killed off 25 of the 27 power plays against them. So I really believe that depth is going to be important for Colorado, and this is going to be a really fun team to watch because they play the game the right way.
And their stars, Kelly, are as good as any in the game. They have what I consider the second best line in the National Hockey League, but on any given night, they could be the best. I give the edge to the Bruins with Bergeron just from experience. But this Avalanche line, when healthy, and it hasn't been healthy for much of the season, when all 3 guys are healthy, with Mikko Rantanen doing his magical work with his size and strength and the way that he protects the puck, McKinnon's explosiveness and his instincts offensively, there's a big challenge there. And the size of Landeskog and his compete level and his leadership, that's one heck of a line. They're going to be a fun team to watch in these playoffs. The team continues to mature. And part of that maturing is the additions of players that you just talked about, adding to the mix, having enough size and grit. Kadri certainly provides attitude as well, which I think is extremely important this time of the year. And Zadorov's size. I don't think we can overlook the importance of Zadorov and his physical play on the back end. This guy's mean. This guy wants to knock you down, and he wants you to be slow to get back up. And I appreciate that style of play on the back end. So there's a lot there on that Avalanche team. Erik Johnson, underrated in everything he brings to the table. It's going to be a big challenge for anybody who has to match up against the Avalanche.
Jonesy, it's interesting you mentioned that size. I mean, I saw it up close and personal at ice level at the Air Force Academy when the Colorado Avalanche played the LA Kings in that outdoor game. It was incredible to see the size of the Colorado Avs, just a big, strong, heavy team. But Kelly, I want to go back to what you're talking about with Cale Makar, because I was thoroughly impressed watching him up close and personal and seeing exactly the way he goes about his business, but also what he does on the ice. And many are putting him right up there with the John Carlsons as the best defenseman in the NHL. Where would you rank him as far as Western Conference defensemen, because this is who the opposing teams are going to be keeping an eye out for?
Oh boy, well, he plays such a different game than a lot of other defensemen out there. I rank him right near the top, and even though he's one of the younger guys on the team, the way that he thinks the game and he uses that skill offensively and creates things, he makes everybody else way more dangerous than they already are. Guys like McKinnon with that great speed, he knows when to get him the puck to allow McKinnon to use that speed, and the other players as well. I just think the game of hockey is in such a good place now, not only because of the skill level of the players coming up, but the coaches allow them to play their game. It used to be when Keith and I were playing, and if you're a young, skilled player, they sort of tried to mellow that. They didn't want you to try and be so creative. And in today's game, man, if you've got the skill, it's go and create, and let's have some fun watching it.
Still more to get to, including the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. That's coming up when the NHL Return to Play preview continues. Welcome back, everybody, to the NHL Return to Play preview. And it's been a great discussion so far as we continue to talk about the Western Conference. Let's shift our attention now to the number 3 seed, the Vegas Golden Knights.
Welcome inside T-Mobile Arena. It is quite a spectacle.
Pete DeBoer, coach of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Centering, got some luck. The touch on his set. Rebound, score! Jonathan Marchessault! Closing to Theodore. His first shot. Score! Shea Theodore with an overtime winner. Rebound. Oh!
Did you see that? One of the saves of the year from Marc-Andre Fleury.
Now Theodore feeds up ahead. Pacioretty to the net. Backhand score! What a move by Max Pacioretty. Pass out in front. Pacioretty beat the clock. Stone to the net. Backhand score! Trying to tip it to keep it alive. Score! Stone picked up the loose puck on the north step.
Joined once again by Keith Jones and Kelly Rudy. And you guys, this Vegas Golden Knights team has been unbelievable. 2 years in the NHL and 2 straight playoff appearances. But Jonesy, do you see them making a run at a higher seed after this round robin?
I do. I think they're a very good team. I think they've sputtered at times this year, but I think they have the potential to win a Stanley Cup. I think they're that good. And I love the addition of Peter DeBoer. I think he's an excellent coach, especially during the playoffs. He's done a lot with less, and he's got a lot more than he's ever had with this Vegas team, and I think that makes them extremely dangerous. Mark Stone being healthy now, what a big-time plus that is. I don't think we're talking about them winning the Stanley Cup if he's not available when things get started and if he's not 100%. So that's all great news. I love their style of play. I think they do have some real grit in their lineup. Ryan Reeves always seems to come to the forefront, entertaining player, but also an intimidating player that provides a lot of support to his teammates with his physical style of play. I think they're a very good team, and I think they're going to be causing a lot of problems for anybody that they go up against.
You know, and I really like their back end. When you look at McNabb and Schmidt, and also Martinez and Theodore. Martinez, that was a big addition coming over, and he just allows Theodore to do whatever he feels comfortable at the time. Theodore's having a fabulous season. The 2 top pairings are remarkable, move the puck, but they have some grit as well. Maybe the 3rd pairing a little bit inexperienced, but I think you can get buy that because of their goaltending. Marc-Andre Fleury at times looked mentally fatigued to me, not physically, but mentally. He's played a lot of hockey for a lot of years. There's a lot of pressure. And so I thought the trade in getting Leonard was phenomenal. I mean, he is not only is he a beacon of strength for people out there, speaking about mental health, but he brings that same character into the nets. He played really, really well for Vegas, and I think he sort of alleviated some of the pressure that Marc-Andre Fleury was feeling.
Yeah, I think the goaltending for the Vegas Golden Knights is so unique because you mentioned those two. We always talk about needing two strong goaltenders in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We've seen the teams that win championships always have a 1 and a 2, and they can go to them at any point. But how much did adding that veteran presence of Robin Lehner help maybe and Kelly, you can probably speak to this, but the mental state of Marc-Andre Fleury, knowing that he's got a good, reliever behind him in those situations?
It's amazing. You know when you're a number one goalie. But it's such a relief knowing that if for whatever reason you're not getting the job done, that the other guy can carry the play as well. And, I've been in many situations where it's just like a sigh of relief. You're like, oh, thank gosh, I've got somebody here that if I stumble a little bit, I know that we still have a great chance. And with these two guys, I think Vegas feels very, very comfortable going into these playoffs, however they're going to look. And know that they don't have to feel uncomfortable with the job that they're going to do behind them.
And I think it's important more than ever that you have depth at that position, Kelly, with the way that this thing is setting up, the short amount of time these goaltenders have to get ready. There's going to be the potential for some injuries. So that depth may be more important than it's ever been. I also like the fact that they're two goalies that have very different styles. And you can get a different look in a series. All of a sudden, if the opponent has Marc-Andre Fleury's number and Robin Lehner steps in there, you need an entirely different game plan to get it past that beast in net too. So two different looks, but two very good goaltenders that are going to cause a lot of problems.
That'll be fun to see if Vegas can contain that magic in a bottle as we continue on in our discussions. And we focus our attention now on the number 4 seed, the Dallas Stars.
As a new decade begins, the Bridgestone Winter Classic. Cross for a shot by Red. Rangelo!
Using the speed, turning in, he shoots, he scores! What a goal by Dennis Gurianov!
He may be one of the fastest men in the National Hockey League. Here comes Heiskanen through the middle, scores! Jamie Benn scores!
Seguin just put it away!
Boy, there's a lot to like about this Dallas Stars team. What an impressive season they've had. Nice to see them in this position going into the round robin of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And Kelly, when you look at this team, what does Dallas need to do to make a significant run here?
Okay, first of all, I love this team for a lot of reasons. And they're two great stars, Seguin and Ben are tremendous players. They compete extremely hard. But two guys that I think that might be very important for Dallas would be Corey Perry. And these are the situations you want Corey Perry in your lineup. He didn't have a very good season for Dallas, a lot of change in his life. But one of the things you need in the playoffs, you need that really gritty guy, the guy that just annoys everybody on the opposing team, and he's the master of it in today's game. And Joe Pavelski, another big addition, and he struggled mightily for the first, 2 months, maybe a little bit longer, started to find his game, but he is a tremendous hockey player, so he's going to have a huge impact. But I'm going to go to the two goaltenders on the Dallas Stars, and that will be, I think, the most impactful position, in my opinion. We know Ben Bishop is a star. I have at least serious concerns about his health. At the worst possible times, he seems to become injured. For that reason, I think that Hudobin might be one of the keys for the Stars. I think you can maybe argue the case that he might be the best backup in the league. I know his teammates love him, not only because of the kind of guy he is, but he plays a really high level of goal. And so I just think that if Ben Bishop were to struggle, which I doubt, but if he were to become injured, I think Dallas feels really comfortable with Hudobin.
The one bonus to Bishop's game is the way he handles the puck and moves the puck, which does help their defense, right, Kel? And there's no doubt that part would be missed. They have a very active defense, and they've got two guys that are just great through the neutral zone and into the offensive zone, and Heiskanen and Klingberg. Love to watch them play. Heiskanen just grabs your eyes, you know, from doing games upstairs, and I've been fortunate enough to do that too. You watch that guy, and he's passing everybody on the way up the ice, and he's catching them on the way back. And that's those players you can't help but have your eyes navigate or be set on those star players like that. So they've got a very good blue line. Esa Lindell's an underrated player that can go up against the best on the opposition. So Dallas is a very good team. I love watching them play too. I'm with you 100% there. And whoever matches up with them and the teams that are going to battle against them in this round robin to see about seeding are going to have a real difficult time. And nobody's licking their chops to play them. They're hard to play against. They're a tough physical team, and they fit the West perfectly.
Okay, we've got more to discuss on the Western Conference, including the qualifying round. We'll head on to that topic coming up next on the NHL Return to Play preview. Welcome back, everybody, to the NHL Return to Play preview. And we've had some great conversations so far about the Western Conference Round Robin Series. But now it's time to shift our focus to a truly unique part of this plan, the best of 5 qualifiers. And we kick things off with the hometown number 5 seed Edmonton Oilers facing number 12, the Chicago Blackhawks.
It's been a long stretch of frustration. Can Edmonton get back to the postseason?
They've got the right pieces in place now where I actually think the light is at the end of the tunnel here for the Edmonton Oilers.
5 points each from Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. The Edmonton Oilers can explode at any time.
What a goal! Pass to McDavid. Shot! Scores! Wow, what a night! Draisaitl scores! 100 points!
Leon Draisaitl is the driving force. He's a beast out there.
The Oilers have emerged as one of the Western Conference contenders.
Kane down low. Saturday, touch pass for Saturday. Score! There it is! 1,000 points for Patrick Kane. He centered it. Good stick in front. Keith. There goes the break, and he's got a breakaway to win it. He does score! Hawks win! Down the slot. He shoots. He scores! Jonathan Kane! Kane got the goal. He got it. The patient Patrick put it upstairs. Score! A blast from Kubalik, who's got 30. Going wide in on Crawford. And a save by Crawford.
Let's go.
He stepped up hard, looking for a lane. He shoots it. Goal!
Been very fortunate, drafted to a great franchise. You guys have meant the world to me, and it's been a fun ride. So looking forward to the next portion of my career.
Chicago Blackhawks and Edmonton Oilers. The Chicago Blackhawks, not quite the playoff powerhouse of the years in the past. However, still a lot of veteran presence on that team and a lot of championships won in that locker room. But Jonesy, is it going to be enough to get by Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers?
I don't think it is, but it's going to be fun to watch. I can tell you that. And that's one series that's going to have a lot of goals. I think the goaltenders are the most important players for both teams in this series. Both teams can score. Both teams have star talent. A couple or three of the best players in the game will be going head-to-head. With Patrick Kane going up against McDavid and Draisaitl. They're going to put on a show. And it's going to be an enjoyable series to watch. There's no question about that. I think the Hawks will fall a little bit short. I think the Oilers have something special going this year. And Draisaitl's been off the charts, and McDavid already was. So look out. Plenty of offense, Kelly. Not fun to be a goalie in this one.
I'm so with you, Keith. I look at Chicago, and I have to admit, I did a game with them in the Flames, I think in January, and I overlooked them. I underestimated them, and I think that the Oilers have to be reminded that, this is an up-and-coming Chicago team, and as you said, plenty of offense. They give up tons of scoring chances against, but and I also thought, going into the season, I was a little bit concerned about Corey Crawford. At what level will he be? And much to my surprise, and I'm happy to say that he's still an elite goaltender. I mean, he can steal a series. So I'm with you, Keith. I think the Oilers are going to come out on top in this series, but I do think Chicago's going to make a real series of it. And but the style of play, man, this is going to be exciting and fast-paced.
You guys, the Chicago Blackhawks owned the Edmonton Oilers throughout the regular season. For some reason, they were able to find a way to defeat this very offensively gifted Edmonton Oilers team, really gifted all the way around. It's a fun team to watch. But will that come into play, do you think, Jonesy, the experience the Hawks have had against this team in recent games?
Yeah, we got to be careful that we don't overlook that. There's no doubt that the Hawks have experience. They know how to game plan. The players on that team know how to beat an opponent. It's not necessarily winning in the regular season. It's finding a way to win a playoff series, and they've done it multiple times. So that would be the concern if I was Dave Tippett going up and trying to game plan against the Hawks. The Hawks are a dangerous, intelligent group of players that know how to win, and that's something that you can't teach. So that will be the challenge for the Edmonton Oilers.
And, the Oilers, though, give them credit. They added some depth at the trade deadline in Tyler Ennis. He's fit in nicely, whether he's been on the top line or on the fourth line. And also Athanasiou. And I don't think that he had his best regular season, but if he can come back from this pause and find the game that he used to have when he played for Detroit earlier, and that great speed, and I think that addition on the bottom six might be really beneficial. So I do think the Oilers are in a good position, and I don't think they're going to overlook Chicago. I just think that the Oilers really do understand that Chicago's a good, young, up-and-coming team.
And the Edmonton Oilers, the hometown team, we'll see if that can factor in at all against the Chicago Blackhawks. And up next, the number 6 Predators against the number 11 Arizona Coyotes.
Denied by Rene. Yossi brings it all the way in. Yossi score! Rene going deep for the empty net. Rene! He has scored a goal!
With space and a centering pass. Backhander score! From Grimaldi.
Grimaldi makes a steal. His wrist to score! Crossed by Yossi. Forsberg across to Phoenix, and he scores!
Welcome to the club, Philip Forsberg. Oh, my goodness. Let's hear it for Leighton Ricardo.
Leighton Ricardo, a courageous young lady. What a moment.
To join a group like this that is playing well, it's everything I could have wanted here to contribute to a winning team.
Taylor Hall rips one, he scores! The bigger the moment, the better he plays, and he is a game changer.
It doesn't get any better than this. Sold out crowd in the desert.
Oh, what a stop!
Scorpion save.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, is he razor sharp here tonight? They score! And it's Connor Garland. What a play! Soak this one in, everybody. Another signature win for the Coyotes.
Everybody came to play, and when we play our style, we're going to be a hard team to beat.
The Predators and the Coyotes, both exciting seasons for them, and their fan base is excited to see what they can do in the playoffs. So, Kelly, when you look at this matchup, who do you have advancing in this series?
Oh, boy, I think I'm going to surprise some people here, Kathryn, Keith, because I have to say, I think Nashville is the better team, but I don't like their chances. And I know that would surprise some people because I just don't think that they had the commitment from Johansson and Duchesne in the regular season. They're two terrific players. And I think that unless they come back rejuvenated, because they weren't the impactful players that they need to be for Nashville. I think Nashville's a more talented team. Yossi, I'm a big fan of Ekholm on the blue line as well. I like the way that Rick Tocchet coaches, and even though they really struggle mightily to score, I like the system that he plays, and I believe that they're going to be well prepared. And I just don't see Arizona giving up many chances to Nashville. So that's kind of how I see it. And I'm kind of going with my gut here a little bit because I think in some of these playoff series, you've sort of got to pick an upset, and this is going to be one of the upsets for me.
It's the eye test, right, Kelly? Nashville all year didn't look like a team that was that interested. And that's a shame because they're a talented team. They lost their swagger, and Arizona is a team that will take your swagger away from you because they're not going to open things up. They're going to be very disciplined. They're going to be Islander-like. They're going to do a lot of things well. They're not going to overwhelm you, but they're going to find a way to beat you. And that's something that's going to be a big challenge for Nashville. Nashville, when they're on their game, which they have been, coming into this season, they were a team that was with great expectations for Stanley Cup championships over multiple seasons. And boy, it faded this year. They're going to have to find it fast. And that doesn't really suit a team that is going into a best-of-5 series off a long layoff that hasn't demonstrated that they've got a lot going for them this year. So that's the challenge. Are they capable of doing it? Absolutely. Will they do it based on what we've saw for much of this year? No. And that's an advantage for Arizona. But the more you knock Nashville, I think the better chance they have because it hurts the ears when you have a lot of negativity going around about you. And Nashville's had enough of that this year with underachieving players. So that's going to be the challenge. And Arizona has got some great goaltending. Kemper was great, and it's good to hear that he's healthy and will be back in there to start game number 1.
All right, so we've got a great matchup between the Coyotes and the Predators. But coming up next, we're going to continue to chat the West. The Vancouver Canucks going up against the Minnesota Wild. Who's got the edge? We'll discuss that when the NHL Return to Play preview show continues. Welcome back, everybody, to the NHL Return to Play preview. And we've had some great discussions so far about the best-of-5 qualifiers. Now let's shift our focus to number 7, the Vancouver Canucks, against number 10, the Minnesota Wild.
The 50th season edition of your Vancouver Canucks.
Watch the play!
Sprawling save by Markstrom.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Henrik.
When used, 20 years of age, a tremendous rookie campaign here in Vancouver.
JT Miller, what a first season as a Canuck he is having.
His hot play continues.
He's on pace for a career year in terms of points. Elias Pettersson to the rescue for the Canucks. Shoots, scores.
Elias Pettersson put it into sport mode.
The Vancouver Canucks with a huge statement victory. This is unbelievable. 9 goals on the top team in the NHL.
Let's go!
A shot and a sprawling save by Stalock.
Got it for Cutting. He shoots, he scores!
Did you see that? What a stop by Dubnyk.
Parisi scores!
Mikko Koivu, 1,000 NHL games.
Koivu scores!
Fiala's in. Takes a shot, he scores! What a move by Fiala!
A power play game winner in overtime. Koivu for Hartman, he scores!
And a thorough 5-0 pounding of Columbus here tonight.
Galchenyuk shoots, he scores! And the Wild win in a shootout.
How satisfying is this one?
It was awesome.
Stahl scores! It's a win for the Wild in overtime!
You just saw the Canucks and the Wild, a pretty evenly matched series here. Jonesy, interesting one to try and figure out who has the edge. Is there any reasoning that you have as to maybe one team has an added edge over the other in this series?
Minnesota's been highly favored and regarded over the last few seasons. They're not this year, and maybe that's to their advantage. They have some veteran players that are proud players that have had great careers, fallen a little bit short of expectations in Minnesota. Zach Parise should be ready to go and raring to get out there and play some playoff hockey. He's built for it. He's a tremendous competitor, and love watching him play. Ryan Suter on the back end as well, and Eric Stahl up front. So it's one of the last kicks at the can for some of those guys in Minnesota that I think makes them dangerous against a team in Vancouver that I simply think is better. They're younger, they're quicker, they've got a lot of toughness and feistiness, and Travis Green's doing a really good job behind the bench there. So I give the edge to Vancouver, but I am interested to watch Minnesota play with little expectations.
Surprise, surprise. I'm going to focus on one player, and that's Jacob Markstrom, because I just think that he had a tremendous season, and he's been at an elite level for almost 2 seasons now. And so unless he completely loses his game in this pause, I think that he's going to be the most impactful player for both teams in this series. In my opinion, he was one of the leading candidates for the Vezina Trophy this year. I don't see Minnesota beating Markstrom 3 times, and I just think that Vancouver. I give the Vancouver Canucks the edge simply based on that one position.
We've got one more matchup in the West to discuss: the Calgary Flames against the Winnipeg Jets. Plus, I'm going to put both of you on the spot and get your bold predictions for who's coming out of the West when the NHL Return to Play preview show continues. Welcome back, everybody, to the NHL Return to Play preview. And there's been a lot to digest as we get set to kick things off with the Stanley Cup Playoffs on August 1st. But the last Western Conference matchup that we have yet to discuss pits number 8, the Calgary Flames, against number 9, the Winnipeg Jets.
Shot blocked. Rebound through the legs. It might be the play of the season.
That is insane. Don't know what to make of what we've just witnessed here.
In the middle of the shot block and shot. Scores! Matthew Tkachuk. Less than a second left in overtime.
Just so impressive, Jeff Warren, the way in which he's handled this excellent leadership. Just a beacon of strength.
Up front, the draw. Scores! What more can you say? It's a play to Tkachuk right in. Scores through the legs. He's done it again.
Glad he's getting the credit that he deserves as well. Andrew Mangiapane.
It's great to have this rivalry, Battle of Alberta. There is no doubt this battle is back.
The Flames' 40th season in Calgary.
What a finish.
Let's go.
It's a fabulous night, a great setting. The game is going to 3-on-3 overtime. Connor Galeno scores! Here's Laine, scores! Bruder scores! Kyle Connor, no-look backhand pass. Pulls it through the legs. That was a beauty. Oh, a save! Potter, Hellebuck. Rock star save. He comes up huge. He on with a blast. Score!
Sky's the limit for how good this guy can be.
Down 4, they win this one in the shootout, and this is a team-building win.
Welcome back, everybody, to the NHL Return to Play preview with Kelly Rudy and Keith Jones as we discuss the final matchup out west. It's number 8 Calgary against number 9 Winnipeg. And Kelly, this is such a tightly contested matchup. It's going to be quite the series to watch between these two. Who do you give the edge to?
Oh, boy, Kathryn. Oh, did you ever say that well, the evenly matched? Like, I've been going back and forth. When I heard that there was going to be the Jets and Flames, one day I might say well, I favor the Jets, and another time I might look at the rosters and the matchups and go, well, I think it might be the Flames coming out of this series. And I can't really put my finger on it. But one thing that I really like about both teams is that they faced plenty of adversity in this regular season. And that was something that I think was lacking for the Flames last year in the playoffs, because when they faced the Colorado Avalanche and they did face some adversity, they didn't know how to handle it. There were times during the season this year for the Flames and or the Jets where I'd look at their team, I'd watch them, I'd say, I don't know if I really like them that much. And there are other times when they went through a stretch where plenty of adversity, like I said, and they came through it and they came out of it and a much stronger team mentally. And so that's where I put these two teams. I think that they really trust each other as teammates. They really believe in each other as teammates. And I think also for the Jets, they've made a couple of changes on the blue line. Like Pionk has been a great addition for them. Surprised me. I didn't know that he was going to end up with 45 points in the regular season. DeMello has been a nice addition because he really added to the game of Morrissey. The Flames, the same thing. They've really solidified their group. And I guess the one question is in net. So we know Hellebuck's going to be the goalie, but is it Riddick or is it Talbot? And I have to say, based on maybe February and March, I'm going to lean towards Talbot, but Riddick was the MVP of the team for the first half.
Big advantage for Winnipeg in goal. That's what it comes down to for me. You talked about Vancouver and Markstrom. For me, Winnipeg's most important player is going to be Connor Hellebuck. And as well as their defense has performed this year, it's surprising to me based upon the number of players that are no longer available for Paul Maurice to put on the ice on the back end. Very different looking team, expectations lower, but the team has performed very well. And I think Hellebuck has a lot to do with relieving some of that pressure on some of their star players up front. And they are great players. Scheifele and Wheeler, fun guys to watch play. Patrick Laine, you'd love to see him have a great playoff. I think Calgary has the edge, though, everywhere else. I think the Flames have a very good top line as well. I think their blue line is going to be the key. I think that's what separates Calgary from Winnipeg, and I think the Flames find a way to beat a very pesky Winnipeg team that will not go away easily, that's for sure.
Jonesy, you mentioned pesky, and I'm very curious because Matthew Tkachuk can tend to be an X factor in a lot of regular season games. In a best-of-5 series in a qualifying round against a team like the Winnipeg Jets with those loaded forwards you mentioned in Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele, can he afford to play that style of game in this series?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a great question because of a short series, too. He can't afford to put his team down. If he gets a penalty, he better hope his teammates kill it off. But he has to play that way. That's what makes him successful. That's what attracts attention to him and draws attention away from the star talented players on that Calgary Flames team. And believe me, he's in that same conversation. That's why he's so important. But Johnny Gaudreau gets more room. The focus becomes Matthew Tkachuk. And anytime that happens, that's good news for the Flames. So he's an important player in the series, without question, worth mentioning. And we're going to notice him a lot. He's going to be on camera a lot. You can be sure of that.
All right, Kelly and Jonesy, we've gotten your take on all the series, on the round-robin round, and it's really hard to predict, but I'm going to put you on the spot and ask your opinion. And Kelly, I'm going to start with you, but who's the team coming out of the Western Conference?
Darn it, Kathryn. I thought you were going to go to Keith and let me off the hook a little bit, but I'm going to go I do think that St. Louis is the best team in the West, and I think if they can raise their level of play by about 5 or 10%, that they may have a really, really good chance to win the Cup. But my surprise pick is going to be Vegas. I think that with the way in which that team is constructed, I think they have a very good chance as well.
I was leaning Vegas as well, Kelly. To change it up a little bit, I'm going to say the Dallas Stars. And the Dallas Stars, I think, have all the ingredients to get it done. Came awfully close last year to getting past the St. Louis Blues. I think they're going to be a very difficult out. It'd be a great story. Rick Bowness behind the bench, a chance to win a Stanley Cup as the head coach. He's been around the game a long time and has given a lot to the game. So would love to see it happen. So the Dallas Stars will be my pick. But I can tell you this, any team that's 20-1 or lower, that's too low. I mean, it's that hard. It's going to be that difficult to come out of that Western Conference, and it's going to be a real difficult Stanley Cup to win this year.
Well, we appreciate you guys even attempting to make a bold prediction. Of course, so much uncertainty out there as we get started, but we are all looking forward to August 1st and the return to play for the NHL. And looking forward to seeing you guys as well. Thanks so much to Kelly Rudy and Keith Jones. We appreciate your insight. We look forward to seeing you soon, and we look forward to seeing all of our fans as well. Thanks for joining us for the NHL Return to Play preview show.